to Sew, a podcast about sewing machines, sewing history, and sewing culture in the past and present. I am your producer and co-host Aradia, daughter of your main host, T.R. Kelly, who is here today to talk to you about two of Singer's main European competitors, the Italian company Necchi and the Swiss company Elna. This episode is a history lesson, mainly with respect to how World War II got in the way of sewing machine manufacturing. We start the episode with the story of Necchi, an Italian company that was vertically integrated, much like Singer was, but that didn't export to the U.S. market until a Holocaust survivor noticed that the New York tailoring sector could use an upgrade. We then move on to Elna, the other Swiss machine, created by a Spanish Civil War refugee and styled to look like a grasshopper. Both companies end up in the hands of the Japanese company Janome by the 2000s, but their successes in the mid-century mean they knocked Singer out of its primacy in the industry and are still valuable and interesting machines today, if you can find one. We even tell you what to look for in your thrifting adventures. You may have noticed that last week's audio quality was a bit less than usual. We do apologize for that. This week, the correct mic was selected, so TR's dulcet tones can come at you properly.
I think I'm here with all my sinuses and vocal cords today. I want to apologize to folks for that last episode, which definitely had some audio problems. It was operator error, me, not the producer.
It's complicated. It's hard. Shows are hard. Technology is hard. Computers are a challenge.
Well, what makes it difficult for me is not only short-term memory loss, but the fact that I move around so much and I have to take my office / sewing room / podcasting studio apart every time we move the RV. And then I put stuff back together. And, geez, Tia, why don't you just write down the steps? Well, yeah, but then I get distracted by, wow, look at that thread. Wow, what can I make? So, yeah, we know what needs to be done. Things that are easy are not always simple, or is it things that are simple are not always easy? But either way, I think we sound better this week, right?
I sure hope so. Well, future me will tell us.
Yeah. I always wait till Sunday so I can listen to the recap from, what did the producer think? So today, we're going to go across the pond, but we're not going to jolly old England yet. No, we're going to Switzerland, and we're going to Italy. Two places that kicked Singer's butt in the 1950s. Okay, so we have talked about zigzag machines, and we've talked about how those European imports took over the market after World War II, and that Singer's attempt at the swing needles didn't really make a dent in those imports. People wanted those machines because they could be bought for the same price as a straight-stitch Singer. Now, what were those machines? So, there were many European machines that were being made before the war and then after the war, and I'm just going to talk about two of them today. The Necchi company in Italy and Elna, which is often called the other Swiss machine because they're always standing in Bernina's shadow.
Aww.
So Necchi and Elna were some of the first European machines to be imported into the U.S., and they were quite more advanced mechanically than anything Singer had going. So I'm going to read about Necchi first here. Necchi is spelled Necchi. So in Italian pronunciation, it's a double C's. Necchi. Or is it Necchi? I don't know. What do you Italian speakers tell me? But everybody I know calls him Necchi. Okay, so this is from the silverbobbin.com page. This is another person who has lots of great sewing information on machines and classic sewing techniques. silverbobbin.com. They say, Necchi sewing machines rivaled all other sewing machine companies worldwide during the mid-20th century. The original Necchi models shocked the world with new technology and impeccable manufacturing. Vittorio Necchi launched Italy's first sewing machine manufacturing company in 1924. With a reputation for excellence, Necchi models were sold like hotcakes around the world. Today, vintage Necchi sewing machines come with high price and high quality. Okay, so that was their little intro. Then they go into the history. Vittorio Necchi founded his family-run sewing machine company after the end of World War I, so 1924. Unlike many other sewing machine inventors spurred on by the Industrial Revolution at the end of the 1800s, Necchi famously decided to make an improved sewing machine after his wife sent him out to buy her one. He saw what was out there and he goes, I can do better than that.
He literally was like, I see your vision. However, I think I can do better.
One of the other sewing machine manufacturers apparently got into it because he wanted to make a better machine for his mom. His mom wanted one, and he said, no, I can do better. So, yeah, this is cool. So, Necchi's wife, Vittorio, go get me a sewing machine. And he says, well, I can make a better one. So this anecdotally took place in 1919. Necchi opened his factory and began producing machines to sell by 1924. So it took him 5 years to figure out how to build this thing. He's good.
I mean, it's a pretty big ask. It's not like the easiest thing in the world to just improve the sewing machine. It's going to take a few years of tinkering and prototyping and getting all your ducks in a row. Like, that's fine.
Like, what's going to make yours different than what's already out there? So he's got plenty of other machines to look at, which is good. Because now it's like the sewing machines have been around for a long time now. He can this is a good feature. This is, not so good. Okay, Necchi's family, this is important. Necchi's family of origin, his big family, had previously owned a small iron foundry. So he grew the sewing machine out of those roots. He already had access to metalwork, right?
Okay, he has the base component.
Yeah. At first, the company had a small group of just 40 employees and sold about 2,000 machines a year. By 1930, the company had produced more than 20,000 machines. On top of that, the Necchi reputation flourished so dramatically that the company exported sewing machines to 30 different countries. Now, the U.S. was not in there, right? This is a European thing. Vittorio kept a hands-on approach to the entire process of sewing machine manufacturing. So, and they went on to tell about, how his factory was set up here. He, like Singer, built every bit of his machines from the ground up. He had a cabinet shop, the foundry, all the bits and bobs he made right there. He wasn't as huge, but he was all vertically integrated there. As the first sewing machine manufacturer in Italy, Necchi received a lot of attention from the beginning. As time went on, company won several awards for innovative designs. Remember that whole World's Fair kind of thing?
Yeah. So this is the first sewing machine company.
Yeah.
And they are coming out of the gate swinging with really awesome, high-quality stuff.
Oh, yeah. So 1930, early 30s, there's no war yet. Europe is, it's the age of, it's beautiful Art Deco stuff. I mean, it's art. The 30s, the early 30s, late 20s was, a lot of things were being invented. Things were beautiful. Design and engineering quality were still a big deal.
Handcrafted, high quality, attention to detail, not cutting corners. This is the thing that we've been degrading from in terms of the approach and the attitude towards craftsmanship.
Right. And European craftsmanship still means something. Okay, so here's where he starts to get into, so what does this have to do with the U.S.? He's winning all these awards in Europe for great design and manufacturing. Vittorio, affectionately known as the Old Man, remained involved in the company for many decades. However, he also leaned on several key figures for support and new ideas as time went on. For example, Leon Jolson spearheaded export to the United States in the 1950s. Here we go. This is how Necchi got to the U.S. Leon Jolson had survived the Holocaust and immigrated to New York City in 1947. He saw room for advanced sewing machine models in the old-fashioned sewing industry in New York at the time. Based on this, he visited Italy and persuaded Vittorio Necchi to open a sales campaign in the United States. So, dude came over and he saw a need. He goes, wow, we make a product that these... and he goes back to Italy and goes, dude, we got to get machines over there. They'll buy them. We have the better mousetrap, right?
So he was... Sorry, did I miss how he came across them? Was he Italian in the first place?
No.
Is that where he immigrated from?
He survived the Holocaust. It doesn't say where he came from, but he survived the Holocaust for some reason. It doesn't say that he was Jewish or not.
I wonder why the Italian machines caught his eye. I'm just curious why Necchi of all the machines out there.
Okay, so we need to make a note. How did Vittorio and Leon know each other? Were they like members of the same Masonic lodge, or were they business partners, and did they just know each other?
Yeah, who's the third party that introduced them? Because there's a lot of European machines, right? I'm like, why the Italian one specifically?
Why this one? How did Leon find these Necchi machines and get involved with the company? Okay, so he met the guy somehow, and then he immigrates to New York, and hey, wait, my buddy Vittorio makes good sewing machines. We need to know more. Make a note of that. Anyway, Leon comes back to Italy, tells Vittorio, hey, they want our machines over there. I just know it. Vittorio knew a good business opportunity when he saw one, and Leon Jolson became the dealer, spearheading the export of 10,000 models to the United States within just 2 weeks.
Whoa! I thought you were going to say years. I genuinely thought you were going to say years, not weeks.
No, so he came to New York in 1947. Saw that they needed, or he saw room for their sewing machines in the old-fashioned industry in New York. Because who was New York? Singer. White. Right? They're not innovating stuff.
Right. Yeah. They're like, we're American. We don't need your damn European machines. We're fine. And it's like, excuse me.
Singer's dominating. At that time, Singer's about the last U.S. manufacturer, I believe. So, but they were at the top of the heap and didn't look back and see that, hey, the customers are kind of looking over there, Okay, so that's like by the 1950s. So a huge expansion of the Necchi company, outrageous sales, and truly brilliant sewing machine innovations. Sadly, the 60s saw this golden era come to the end. Like many other sewing machine companies, Necchi struggled to keep up with competition from Japan's post-war sewing machine boom. Oops. So the dominance of the European machines, specifically European zigzags, was really 1950s. The Japanese were getting going then. But it was the 60s when the Japanese really started to shine with their sewing machine designs and quality. But in the 50s, now I remember some of my friends' moms had Neckis, and those were fancy because they weren't White or Singer or Kenmore. What? How do you say that? Nisi? Necchi?
Right. The name right out the gate, you're like, wow, that sounds fancy and European and ooh la la.
Yeah, anything from Europe is fancy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, Germany had a good sewing machine industry way before the war. And, of course, it was taken over by their war machine, just like it was in the United States. But then after the war, sewing machine manufacturing became a big deal in Germany again as well. I've had several Pfaff machines that say, made in Western Germany. Back when that was a thing, Western Germany. Not West Germany, but when it was still partitioned the first way, the 50s. There was a whole partitioning thing that was a little bit different.
Today I learned. Okay.
Yeah. That went through several. Yeah, look up the Berlin airlift. Things changed in the early 60s. Again, more history we need to know. How does this relate to sewing machines? Well, after the war, everybody's feeling prosperous, and they're done feeling deprived. The Depression's over. The war's over. I'm going to get Betty a new sewing machine. And Singer doesn't have the modern machines. And Betty's friend Martha got this new, it's an Italian machine. And look, it's a pretty color. And look at all these neat things it can do. What can it do? Not can it just do zigzag. It can do all kinds of cool stitches. Vittorio's death in 1975 heralded the end of the family-run company. Several companies bought and sold the Necchi brand name during the following decades. In the 2000s, Janome bought the brand, and they continue to sell, quote, Necchi sewing machines. But they're nothing like the pre-1975, 1950 to 1975. If you find a Necchi, and there are just several, and they just look cool, they're heavy as hell. And it's, I'm looking at the timetables here, 1950 to the supernovas. Yeah, so 20 years, 50 to 71, are the Necchis that you want to get. If you want a Necchi, and they came in hand cranks, and they came in treadles, and they came with electricity. I myself have never had one. I have worked on several and am consistently amazed at the really thoughtful design features. There's this one, I can't remember which model it is, and if you guys have one, you'll recognize it. There's the throat plate where the needle goes down and the feed goes down. It rotates. It goes to 3 different positions.
Ooh.
Zigzag, straight stitch, and something else. Oh, it's a dropped feed or something. But you don't even need a screwdriver to do it. You just sort of push this thing and the whole, wow, no rooting around for that other throat plate. It's right there. What a beautiful thing. You're going to have to do a little more research into, like, were they rotaries or oscillators, or what was the engineering geekery underneath? But now I want to go on to my main topic today, which is the other European machine that kind of took over in the early 50s, which is the Elna. Elna. E-L-N-A. For the longest time, I thought this was another Scandinavian machine. I don't know why I thought that. Like Viking, Husqvarna. It's like, no, Swiss. Oh, wait. Swiss machines. That's Bernina, right? The other Swiss machine.
Okay, so we've got some layers of things to peel back here.
History of Elna sewing machines. Again, this is in Europe now. Dr. Ramon Casas Robert, what a name, created a prototype for the first Elna sewing machine in 1934. This sewing machine used an innovative free arm design. A free arm sewing machine has a unique design that leaves part of the bed sticking out. This allows easy access for sliding a sleeve or pant leg close to the needle. It's more of a tubular bed than a flat bed.
Ah, those guys.
Right.
Yeah. That's a uniquely handy thing. Because, if you want to make clothes, you're going to have tubes that you have to sew around the edges of. And it's going to be annoying.
And those,
inevitably.
That thing has already been in much use in industrial land, but not in home sewing machines. Okay. Despite his brilliant invention, Dr. Roberts' plans to launch a sewing machine business stalled out. The Spanish Civil War erupted, forcing him to flee his country. So he's a Spanish guy. Fortunately for the future of Elna sewing machines, he fled Spain and ended up in Switzerland. Okay. Why? Switzerland is famously neutral.
Yes, that is one of their most famous attributes.
That and chocolate and good watches, right?
And skiing.
And everybody speaks 3 languages. And okay.
And not skiing, but mountain
skiing.
sports.
Yeah. It's vertical there.
Yeah. Very mountainous.
Dr. Robert and the new Swiss business partners formed a company they called Electrina, although the name was later shortened to Elna.
Okay. Yeah.
Electrina to Elna.
Yeah, Electrina's a little clunky. Elna is very ergonomic as a word.
Yeah, and it has a European sound to it, right? I always think of ulna, the arm bone, but that's just me.
That's because you're a nerd of a very special flavor.
Okay. Just before 1940, Robert established his company by joining a gun manufacturing company. Remember, we know the thing between sewing machines and guns is that they both use very fine machinery to manufacture all their little parts.
Right.
So Robert establishes, he'd go to this gun company, hey, can you guys make these parts or whatever? The Swiss company Tavaro had experience manufacturing complex mechanisms because of its work making firearms. By 1940, Tavaro and Elna launched their first machine, the Elna 1, just a number 1. Actually, it isn't even on the machine. It's just the machine, the Elna, but we call it the Elna 1 now.
It's the self-titled album of sewing machines.
Exactly. That's true. This machine had a great reputation due to its useful design and remarkable Swiss craftsmanship. Though the Elna 1 sold very well at first, World War II broke out and interrupted the company's plans. Boy, haven't we heard this before.
World War II, will you please get out of my sewing machine history? No, it's completely impossible. They're completely wound together.
It is. They're completely tied up in the sewing machine and human culture is the thing that's just endlessly fascinating to me. Is like this thing that people have forgot how much it was a part of everything and everywhere. And now people, it's like, what, are we going to forget Fords and Chevys like we forgot Singers and Whites and Elnas,
I mean, I'm genuinely feel like I'm getting another handle on understanding World War II and the associated halo of time around it, because it's kind of like a confusing time to break down. I have a hard time with understanding time. I need a through line. I need a narrative to make a given period make sense, whether that's geologic time or human history time. Either way, I need a narrative story. And I'm genuinely learning so much about the mid-century through these little vignettes of just explaining the context of a sewing machine's arc.
Of a sewing machine. It's like we say in the little blurb about a podcast, it's the most important forgotten invention that touched our lives as much as cars. It's like, look around you. What's all sewn? Even if you don't sew yourself, sewing is a huge part of modern life, whether it's done by robots or little old ladies at quilt shops.
Right. And I don't even have a driver's license, but I have 3 sewing machines.
Right. Oh, good one. Good one.
Not saying I don't use a car. I just use it via my husband who can drive. But I don't use the car. I do use the sewing machine.
Yeah, that's legit. Yeah. Didn't get my first license till I was 30. And I had already hoarded myself into a corner with sewing machines the first time at that point. I think I had about 87. Okay. Anyway, back to Elna. After the war. In 1948, after the end of the war, the Elna 1 finally got exported from Switzerland for wider sales. Elna 1 remained in production until 1952. The company continued to create, patent, and sell innovative machines. These include the Elna Supermatic and the Lotus series that sold well into the 1960s. Tavaro owned the Elna brand for quite a few years. In the 70s and 80s, the company launched a line of computerized Elna machines. This led to heightened global sales, but unfortunately the good times came to an abrupt end in the 1990s. That's when all the fabric stores went out of business. That was that. That hinge point. Yeah. That's right when I got out was 1989. Right, December 89. So 1990, my store closed 2 years after I left because of this huge crash in the 90s because of trades and blah and meow. Anyway, like other European countries at the time, Elna found modern global markets inhospitable. Consumers got used to mass-produced, accessible products. Many old-fashioned factories that had focused on quality over quantity had to close down. Increasing production costs and decreasing demand for domestic sewing machines struck double blows to Elna. Tavaro's manufacturing processes could not keep up with the times. In 1995, the company declared bankruptcy. Janome bought the Elna brand in 2006 after Elna declared bankruptcy in the 90s. The Elna as a company does not exist anymore. That said, Janome offers a strong lineup of Elna brand machines.
Was that the same company that bought Necchi?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Janome is in Japan.
Okay. All right. Okay, it's a Japanese company with an Italian-sounding name, and they just have bought up multiple.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Some people call it genome. I've heard it called both ways. It's Janome. I think it's Genome. And their main focus is industrials. I mean, I think they're the biggest sewing machine manufacturer in the world now.
Oh.
A lot of really awesome commercial machines that are in factories and stuff. So I don't know what their household machines are like, but their commercial ones are quite good.
Okay.
So that was the history. So then she goes into, although it took a decade to get it out into the world, Elna 1 set the tone for the Elna brand as a whole. Right, this is the first one in the 50s. It had a compact design and a unique case designed specifically to fit its free arm. Now, I've got the Supermatic, which is the one that comes right after the Elna 1, and this case is the coolest thing. It looks like a metal ammunition box or a camp stove box. It's a green metal box. But on one side is a latch, and you pull it. In fact, sometimes I have read stories of people finding Elna machines in the camping section of thrift stores because people assume it's some kind of camp stove.
Oh!
Without opening it up. It just has that kind of a metal box look to it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So you open this one latch, and the two halves fold down, and there's the sewing machine. And you pick it up out of there, and you set it down, and then you turn the case back over and slide it up against the sewing machine, and the case has this awesome cutout. It's hard to explain, but it fits right into the free arm. So now you have this big metal sewing space that was the case, and now it is made into this really cool table.
Oh, so very portable as a thing.
Portable, and the case itself is functional. It's not just, I have to take it out of the case and then set the case somewhere. The case fits around your sewing machine. It's beautiful. Yeah. I love this machine.
Very cool.
The other weird thing about it that people notice right away is there's no foot pedal. It has a knee lever. And it's this weird little folding silver chrome knee lever. And when you fold it up to put it away, that compared with the intense green color of the machine makes its nickname the Grasshopper.
Oh, yeah. You showed me this one last summer. Yeah.
The folded up knee bar looks like a grasshopper leg, and the color is just so really green.
It really, really does.
So, yeah, Elna green is just, it's sort of like Park Service green. There's a certain shade. It's like, oh, yeah, that's an Elna sewing machine in there. And that case is the same color, and when it's been beat around for 50 years and some of the paint's worn off, I guess it could pass for camping stuff. But then, and so then you get your machine out, and it has around the free arm, as you take it out of the case, there's this neat little slide-on tray that fits under the free arm, right around it. Such good design. And it has a place for all your little discs that make the cams that you can put in to make the different stitches, and all your feet and little pegs to put the bobbins on, and it's the cutest little perfect thing. How many of those do you think still exist? You can get the machine, you can get the case, but that little tray is probably gone.
Yeah.
It's made out of really thick plastic, old plastic that's kind of swirly red with just a little white in it. It's super vintage looking, okay? So you don't get these, except if you go thrifting and you know what you're looking for, and you're walking through the aisle with all the pens and clocks and World's Best Grandma and other little plastic bits and bobs, and you spot that maroon colored tray, and it can only be one thing. There's little spindles in it. This might have something to do with sewing, but they've just got it in the basic plastic boxes that we don't know what they're for. 49 cents. I looked up how much they are on eBay. $48.
Oh. So it's worth keeping an eye out for as you are meandering through the little box aisle at the thrift store.
This is like if you know a hobby really well, it sticks out to you. Like I'm walking down this aisle, because I just walk up and down the aisles, not looking for any specific thing, but looking for every specific thing. I'm not interested in this, I'm not interested in that, but little plastic boxes, you never know, they could be sewing machine accessories, needles. Look inside the sewing baskets. Oh my gosh, I have found things like featherweight bobbin cases stuffed in with all the threads and elastics and stuff. The machine itself only weighs about 17 pounds, but in that case, the case also weighs like 12 or 13 because it's metal and it's heavy, and I swear you could drop this out of an airplane. There's even some screws in the bottom where you can screw the case to the machine so it can't boing around inside. Very sturdy stuff. Okay, let's talk about the machine itself, though. Okay, it's got the free arm, which means you can stick your cuff or your pant leg or whatever. You just move that case thing out of the way, and there it is. But what kind of machine is it? Well, it's a full rotary. Of course. All the high class. I can't think of a European machine in the big five that isn't a rotary. But, okay, where does the bobbin case go on a machine? You have 20 seconds.
Under the throat plate?
Where else can it go?
To the side of the throat plate? Like under the face or under the bed of the machine near where the needle is coming down. But I suppose it could be off to the side a bit.
Right, like on Exuberant, right?
Yeah.
You've got the little door there. Okay, where else can it be? Think if you can more. It's underneath, but it's in the front.
Okay, yeah. In the front, yeah.
Okay, then think about my 101 that I just rehabbed. It's a drop-in, top drop-in off to the left.
Uh-huh.
Right?
You could have ones off to the back.
The Elna is the only one I've ever seen.
Oh.
Where the bobbin is behind the needle. It is the weirdest damn thing.
Okay.
So when you open to change your bobbin, it's behind the needle. It's not in the front. You tip open this little silver door. It's like an old cigarette ashtray in an old car. And there's the bobbin and the rotary hook. And this really nice tension adjustment with numbers on it. Not just some screw that you twiddle around with, but it actually has little clicks where you can adjust the tension. And not only is it behind the needle, the whole thing is a little bit slanted. It lists to starboard quite a bit. This has to do with the way the needle comes down. The hook comes around, picks up the thread, needle yanks it up. That's how it works. I don't know why it's behind there. It took me a long time to get used to it. It's hard to get the bobbin out on the old Supermatics. They included a little tool that was your bobbin ejector.
You need a tool to get the bobbin out? That doesn't sound like a good design.
Well, if you've got, yeah, it's a weak point. It really is. The other weak point I don't like is there's no way to adjust the down pressure on the foot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that at all.
And there's no way to drop the feed.
Darn it. You can't darn it.
No,
That's
well,
terrible.
no, you can. They had, and I have been lucky to find these too, on the throat plate, you little pieces that you can click in. One of them totally blanks the feed, and that's like, okay, now you're darning. But it's really a pain in the ass to do. It's not a simple flip of a lever. What else don't I like about the Elna? It's a friction drive. You remember about that at all? It doesn't have a belt.
Right. What is in place of the belt doesn't rotate around. It just pulls on it. I remember you describing it, but I'm not good at picturing machines.
Okay, so we have our belt, which we know what that looks like. The motor's hanging on the back of the machine, and it's got a belt that goes up to the hand wheel. Or you've got a treadle machine where the belt goes from the big wheel on the bottom. Or you've got something like the 201 or the 1591 or the 101 where the motor's just built onto the back. And those are all gear drive. There's a gear coming out of the motor that engages with another gear on the machine. Okay, Elna and several other manufacturers, some American, some European, have friction drive. And what this is the motor pulley has a big rubber disc on it, not like a bobbin tire, more like a top standing kind of a disc, a little fat, a pulley. And it's rubber on a metal thing that comes out the end of the motor. And the idea is this rubber thing presses up against the hand wheel and turns the machine.
Oh, so it's like a gear but with no teeth.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
I can see how that's sort of weird. Yeah.
It's relying on the stickiness of the rubber and the pressure of some spring. There's got to be a spring somewhere to hold that motor against that wheel. Now, can you picture any problems with that? What might go wrong?
If the spring wears out, loses its tension. I know you don't like that phrase, but if the spring loses its springiness.
Right.
Or if the rubber cracks, dries, gets distorted in any way, shape, or form, oxidizes so that way it becomes slick.
Yeah. Boy, you named them all.
I saw 2 points of failure right away, like boom.
It's a poor design, but it was very inexpensive to produce. I guess I don't know why. I don't know why Elna did that. They wanted.
Oh, you don't know? Yeah.
No, they wanted the motor. I think it was because they wanted the motor inside the machine, and maybe gears was just not how they were thinking. I don't know, but the way it works is the motor's in there, and there's a spring that jams. Now the motor's inside the machine. You can't see it unless you take the hand wheel off or the bottom off and look inside. These are not easy to work on.
Uh-huh.
There's springs that push the motor over so the little pulley engages a rim of the hand wheel. Now, when that machine has been sitting for 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's got a flat tire. That pulley has been sitting against that, and it has deformed and distorted. And then you fire up the machine, and it goes... And you go, oh, shit. What? Oh, that's loud. That's terrible. Something's wrong with it. It's got a flat spot. If you've ever parked a car for a really long time and in cold weather, and you might have a flat spot until your tires get warmed up. Well, this is a flat spot, and it's not going to warm up. It's wrecked.
Right. Yeah.
You got to replace that pulley, and that is really not a job for Mrs. Customer. So this is another thing I don't like about Elnas is they're not easy for the average person to work on like Singers are. Now, a Singer zigzag, I wouldn't work on that either. But I'm just talking about the basic stuff like the bobbin winders and this and that. It's just a lot of stuff's real complex and really well made on these machines. And I am not the guy that can work on those. I draw the line. I work on straight stitch Singers, Japanese machines, treadles, hand cranks. But the minute you get into automatics, yeah, what about that Supermatic? What is that? Okay, so we just roasted the machine, telling all about its nasty pulley. Oh, and I didn't even tell you about the suppression capacitor. Back in the 50s when TV was coming through the air in waves and you ran your sewing machine, it would cause lines and distortion on the TV, and Dad would yell, "Don't sew now, Martha, you're messing with the program."
Oh my God, the sewing machine could interfere with the TV. Times were so quaint. Technology used to be so wild.
A lot of things could interfere with the TV. So they invented this electrical thing called a suppression capacitor that's in there, and it suppresses the interference. Well, 50 years later, the thing has leaked brown, icky goo all over the inside of the machine. It is decomposed. It's not toxic. It doesn't really stink. But if you plug the machine in, there's going to be smoke. There's going to maybe be flames. It might just run one speed or not shut off. Depends on how bad things are. Good news is, if you're Mrs. Customer who doesn't give a rip and is really wanting to learn about how to do this, there's videos on YouTube. Take it out. All you need is some wire clippers. Doesn't affect the machine at all. So mine does not have a suppression capacitor. I've done this myself. It's fine. I fixed the pulley because I'm that kind of kid. But I will not touch that zigzag mechanism up in the top. And this is where you open the little door, and there's all this machinery. It's all shiny, and it goes around and around. And you stick these little discs, little cams on to make different stitches. Another thing I don't like about the Supermatic, you need a cam just to do a zigzag. If you lose that zigzag cam, you're screwed. Guess which one always gets lost first? Because that's the one you take out to put in the other ones to be pretty.
Yeah. So we've been roasting it.
But now here's the thing. Here's why it's good. Here's why, in addition to the free arm, which nobody has, it's a high-speed full rotary. It's very smooth. If you fix the pulley, it's fairly quiet. It's nowhere near as quiet as a 201 or a 101. But it's doable because a little narrow free arm, and you've got all these cams you can stick in the top, and not only are they just side-to-side swing needle stuff, no, now we've got automatic. What does that mean? That's reverse cycle stitches, where the feed dog goes forward and back, as well as the needle going side to side. These are stretch stitches. These are for new, modern, synthetic, stretchy fabrics. Take that, Singer. Singer didn't get on that until the Touch and Sew series in the 60s. So here we've got an automatic. Now how that works is the cams are double stack, and one little finger follows the side to side, and one little finger follows the forward to back. And it's a very complex piece of machinery up in there, and it's just called the automatic. And, if it doesn't work right, you take out this whole unit. I think Mike knows how to do it. I'll stick to my Davis vertical feed faceplate rollers for mechanical complexity. When the Supermatic is working great, it does what it does. It has great piercing power. If your pulley's not all the way flat, and it's just maybe a little glazed, like you said, you can take the hand wheel off the machine, you can see the pulley, and you can actually put a little finger sandpaper and just kind of sandpaper it, roughen it up a little bit, or a nail file. Don't stick your finger in there. I didn't tell you to do that. Just because I do that, you shouldn't do that. You could lose your finger or something.
Always pay a professional. That's what we're going to go find your local sewing machine nerd and pay them.
What I love about, and I carry, which machines do I carry with me in my RV? Well, right now I've got the 301 and I've got the Supermatic. Because when I need a zigzag, that's the one I got. It's super portable. Again, portability. I love the way that case folds up and makes into a table. As a person who lives in a very small space, that multi-purpose functionality is really cool. Also, it's not too heavy. I mean, it's about 30 pounds when it's all packed up. And I love the knee lever. I really love the knee lever. Some people hate them. Myself, I hate chasing foot controls all over the floor. I know you like knee levers. You had me change even your serger over to a knee lever.
Yeah, I love the knee lever. I have a very hard time controlling my sewing machine speed. I actually still want you to put some speed control on my machines because I have a very hard time with regulating the speed, and it's a little easier with a knee lever than with the foot lever. Yeah, chasing that little foot lever all over the place. The knee lever stays in one spot. It is very firmly affixed to the sewing machine cabinet. It cannot creep away slowly while you aren't paying attention. It's better.
No. The only danger of those kind of knee levers is if you push in your sewing chair and just activate it just enough to heat that thing up and burn down your sewing room.
Well, that's why I followed the safety protocol you gave me, which is to have all my machines on power strips that I only turn on when I'm in there. And then the lights come on the machine. And so then there's no chance of me doing that mistake.
Yes. Vintage sewing, ladies and gentlemen. If you got vintage machines, unplug when done. And the easiest way is with a power strip.
Yeah, you don't have to literally unplug. You just use the power strip switch, and it counts as unplugging.
And that's one of the reasons I always leave all the lights on my machine so I can tell if they're on or not.
Yep. Very easy feedback like that.
Yeah. When I got my broken featherweight, the switch was just broken, and I thought, I don't need that because I like my machine lights. If it's plugged in, the light's on. So I just wired past it, put a cute little button on there so it didn't look bad. So I know if the light's on, the machine's plugged in, it's live, the foot control, don't let a cat sleep on it, blah, meow. But yeah, when I have to do a zigzag or something or finish things, like my brother sent me along on this trip with a couple sweatshirts he wanted fixed, and they're made out of really stretchy stuff, and I need a zigzag for that. He wants me to shorten the cuffs and, a few custom things, but it's like, that's not a job for the 301. I need a stretchy stitch there. So when all the new fabrics came out, all the miracle knits and things in the 50s and 60s, the old sewing machines just wouldn't sew them. You got to have a zigzag. The stitch has to stretch with the fabric. That's the crux of it. And there's a couple different ways, and the old straight stitchers couldn't keep up. So if you want to sew modern fabrics, you need a modern machine, Mrs. Customer. May I suggest this? Ta! So anyway, those were two of Singer's overseas competitions that kind of knocked them off the pillar of sewing machine goodness and down into making typewriters and vacuum cleaners and every other dang thing. It was just one more step in their dissolution as a sewing machine company. And the old Necchi's, there's no friction drive on those, I don't think. They're built belt drive. But Elna's, I love them. You can find that, I went ahead of myself there. Elna did make a lot of other machines after that, before they totally dissolved. The other Elna that I own is called a 72C, and it's from the Star series. They fixed a lot of things with this. There's actually a pressure control now. The bobbin is still in the same weird spot, but there's a little built-in bobbin ejector finger thing that comes down that's really easy to use. But the same is so quiet. And again, full rotary. You can just sit on the table and full blast, and it goes. So I am a fan of Elna's. There are a few things I don't like about them, but there's a few things I don't like about every damn machine I own. I have not yet encountered the perfect sewing machine, although I'm really looking forward to that 319W, which is waiting for me when I get back over to Lane County. I've already ordered some modifiable bobbin cases, so I don't have to use the special needles. It's going to be a great engineering nerd out, and if everything goes according to plan, I think it might be my new favorite sewing machine for at least a year. I'm over here on my land right now. The stakes are in the ground for where the cabin is going to be. I know my sewing room. Where's the picture here? My sewing room is going to be 7.5 feet by 14 feet. So now how many treadles and how big of a layout table and what kind of lighting and all those fun decisions. Whee! Till next time, stay threaded.
And there you have it. 2 tales of European machines that competed with and won against Singer in the mid-century sewing machine market. The Necchi was impeccably crafted in Italy, and the Elna was creatively designed in Switzerland. I had a lot of questions this week, starting with, who was Leon Jolson? Well, I found an article about him on stillstitching.com, and it turns out he's responsible for bringing both the Necchi and the Elna and the Nelco to the U.S. His story goes, he was Polish and had followed his dad into the sewing machine industry, leading the sales for the Necchi company in Eastern Europe, and also helping design their machines, actually. He survived being in a concentration camp during the Holocaust and eventually got to New York with his wife. In post-war New York, the garment industry was low on sewing machine parts and sewing machines in general. And so he wrote to his old employer, Necchi, to say that he recognized a huge market for the machines he knew so well. Convincing Necchi that the market needed their investment was a bit of a struggle, but eventually he was able to meet with Vittorio Necchi and convince him to invest in that 10,000 machines in 2 weeks business mentioned in the episode. Remember how I just said he imported Nelco machines? Yeah, that was a bit of a stretch. He actually created Nelco as a company that used a Japanese manufacturer to make machines that were closely based on the Necchi and Elna features, to the point that he was sued by those companies in the 60s. But he wasn't totally corrupt. He became quite a philanthropist by the time he died in 2009. I do recommend reading the whole piece on Still Stitching. It is quite interesting, and I left out a lot. We also talked about the strange design choices made in the Elna, and how it is still worth having, despite all of its quirks. I think they are very cute, but I'm content to just stick with my Kenmore. Thanks all the same. We hope you enjoyed this history discussion. Next week, we are going to dig into more fast fashion stuff, talking about Bernadette Banner, who is a sewist on YouTube and happens to have made some videos about one of my other special interests, the Wheel of Time, specifically the costume of Lady Gandalf in the TV show. So, get ready for me to take some of the narrative space in the episode next week. Until then, Remember that we are unofficially sponsored by Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, who do repairs and restorations. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us by sharing the podcast with your friends, and also with money, at patreon.com/used2sew. Thank you for listening to us here at Used to Sew. We always welcome your additions, corrections, and feedback in general. Please reach out to us via email at usedtosew@gmail.com. Used to Sew is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.